ultra primes.
Oh, this is your fantasy truck.
This is a Zeiss compact zoom. There's a Aries zoom. This is the older compact zoom, right?
These are really good. The 70s, they're light handheld lenses.
I don't care.
Under pressure.
When Hollywood's most dazzling couple imploded in 2004, the world blamed the paparazzi. Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez, famously dubbed Bennifer, were Hollywood royalty, defined by a 6.1-carat pink diamond engagement ring and unprecedented public obsession. In September 2003, they canceled their massive wedding just 3 days before, citing overwhelming media scrutiny. Months later, their breakup wasn't just a split, it sent Lopez on an 18-year spiral through failed relationships. The public blamed the cameras, but decades later, Affleck revealed the media frenzy was only a catalyst for a deeper, more personal truth. The perfect storm of a billion-dollar brand. When Ben Affleck and Jennifer Lopez met on the set of Gigli in 2001, their undeniable chemistry sparked a media frenzy that quickly overshadowed their professional lives. Dubbed Bennifer, the couple became a public obsession, transforming two successful careers into a single, overexposed brand that invited both fascination and criticism. For Affleck, this media storm became a personal and professional burden. As an actor and budding filmmaker, he found his worth increasingly tied to Lopez's pop star status rather than his craft. The consequences of this overexposure were glaring when Gigli premiered in 2003. The film flopped spectacularly, not just at the box office, but as a cultural moment, turning into a punchline and a symbol of Affleck's struggle. He aspired to be seen as a serious artist, but the public fixation on his relationship with Lopez reduced him to tabloid fodder. This scrutiny created an identity crisis for Affleck. The chaos surrounding their relationship dictated how audiences perceived his work, forcing him to confront a harsh reality. His personal life had become inseparable from his professional reputation. Over time, the relentless attention bred anxiety and resentment, particularly as the failure of Gigli became a public humiliation. It wasn't just about the movie's poor reception, it was about how the spectacle of Bennifer undermined his career and made his private life unsustainable. Years later, Affleck reflected on the toll this period took on him, noting how external factors shaped the perception of his work. Quote, "The truth about that movie and what it taught me was how much everything around a movie sort of dictates the way people see it. But for being a movie that's such a famous bomb and a disaster, very few people actually saw the movie." Ultimately, the media frenzy and professional fallout became too much to bear. Long before their wedding was officially called off, the pressure surrounding the relationship had already pushed Affleck to retreat. What began as a dazzling romance became a cautionary tale of how fame and overexposure can derail even the brightest stars. The Decoy brides and the collapse. By September 2003, the frenzy around Bennifer hit its breaking point. The couple had planned a lavish wedding in Santa Barbara, complete with 14 ushers and bridesmaids, and a guest list featuring stars like Matt Damon and Bruce Willis. But instead of a celebration, it became a paparazzi-feeding frenzy. The media treated the event like a high-stakes mission, forcing the couple into extreme measures to protect their privacy. Things spiraled so out of control that Ben and Jen admitted they seriously considered hiring 3 decoy brides at different locations to throw off the press. The logistics of ensuring their wedding could happen in peace turned their dream day into a tactical nightmare. As they put it, the joy and spirit of the occasion were at risk of being completely overshadowed. Just 3 days before the ceremony, they made the tough decision to postpone it. This last-minute call reflected how impossible it had become to maintain any sense of normalcy under such intense scrutiny. For many, this public collapse marked the beginning of the end. The couple tried to salvage their relationship in private after the postponement, but the damage had been done. 4 months later, in January 2004, they officially announced their split. While the media was an obvious villain in the story, it wasn't the only issue. The constant spotlight exposed deeper cracks in the relationship, particularly the clash between Affleck's desire for privacy and the fame that came with Lopez's career. Lopez later reflected on the crushing pressure they faced, admitting, quote, "We had a big wedding, 14 ushers and bridesmaids, and 3 days before, we just crumbled under the pressure." The media frenzy may have accelerated the breakup, but it also revealed an underlying incompatibility that neither could overcome. The 18-year spiral, a wound that never healed. When Jennifer Lopez and Ben Affleck announced their split in January 2004, it felt inevitable after the wedding postponement, Yet the emotional devastation, especially for Lopez, was profound. Her public statement was brief, asking for privacy, but privately she was in pieces. This wasn't just heartbreak, it was a deep emotional wound that lingered for nearly 2 decades. Lopez later opened up about the experience with raw honesty. She described the breakup as the biggest heartbreak of my life, admitting she thought she was going to die. It wasn't just about losing a partner, it felt like a personal failure, shaking her sense of self. The pain ran deep because it wasn't about circumstances, it felt like a failure of character and trust. This explains why the following years were so challenging for her. She admitted the heartbreak sent her on an 18-year spiral, struggling to get her relationships right. The loss of Affleck as her closest confidant made it even harder. Their bond had been more than a media spectacle, it was a deep emotional connection. Losing him felt like losing her anchor, someone she trusted completely. She stayed silent about her true feelings for years, which only intensified the pain. At the same time, the breakup forced both Lopez and Affleck onto separate paths of self-discovery. They each married, started families, and grew individually. For Lopez, this journey meant finding self-sufficiency and learning to value herself outside of a relationship. She realized she needed to be, quote, good on my own before she could be ready for a lasting love. Eventually, she reached a place of contentment, and the universe seemed to align, giving them a second chance. Their reconciliation, nearly 2 decades later, suggests they had finally addressed the issues that drove them apart: immaturity, fear of vulnerability, and an inability to compromise. For Lopez, the process was about healing and rediscovering her worth. For Affleck, the separation carried a different weight. He later described the breakup as deeply personal, not dramatic, and revealed his own vulnerabilities. Looking back, Lopez described the pain of losing not just the love of her life, but also her best friend. Quote, for all those years, it was really hard because I didn't just feel like I lost the love of my life, I felt like I lost the best friend I ever had. I couldn't talk for so many years, and that was the hardest part. The embarrassing, vulnerable confession. For years, the public clamored for a concrete narrative. Who was the villain? What was the grand, explosive scandal that fractured the golden couple? When Ben Affleck finally spoke about the original breakup years later, his comments actually subverted every sensational expectation. He insisted repeatedly that the reality was far less interesting than the gossip pages desired, declaring definitively, there's no scandal, no soap opera, no intrigue. He argued that the assumption that a major celebrity split must involve high drama is flawed. The truth, he suggested, quote, was much more quotidian than probably people would believe or would be interesting. He pointed out their split was merely a story about people trying to figure out their lives and relationships in ways we all sort of normally do. This redefinition of the crisis reframes the narrative from a dramatic Hollywood tragedy into a human failure of communication and compatibility. The real confession lies in the reason he initially refused to share the specific issues. He explained discussing finer details of the relationship's decline sounded, quote, more like a couple's therapy session. He had been struggling with the necessary exposure that came with Jennifer Lopez's level of superstardom. He admitted demanding she pull back from the spotlight was, quote, not a fair thing to ask, comparing it to marrying a boat captain and then saying, well, I don't like the water. The media didn't actively break them up. The intense pressure exposed the foundational instability rooted in Affleck's discomfort with sharing vulnerability and his partner's boundless fame. He finally distilled the reason their relationship disintegrated. It wasn't the cameras, the critics, or a grand betrayal. It was something deeply personal, a clash of inner worlds that proved too difficult to share with the public. Quote, for one thing, you start going, okay, clearly this person has got these issues. Clearly they have these issues. And the reason I don't want to share that is just sort of embarrassing. It feels vulnerable. Now it's time to hear from you. Who's your favorite celebrity couple? Let us know in the comments section below.